Good evening. Welcome to the EquinEdge Weekend Preview show. We got 6 graded stakes over at Saratoga. The DraftKings Travers. It's going to be a good one, fellas. Ladies, gentlemen, welcome. Thanks for being here. Oldy, we haven't been here in a long time.
Yeah.
I think, and David, probably you too. Maybe the Belmont. I think that might have been
Yeah. I mean, it's Chase, Justin, and Oldy. It's so great to be back. The last show that I've done with you gentlemen was the Belmont Stakes preview, and so it's been too long. I've actually had people on X now, which I still refer to as Twitter most of the cases, saying, "Hey, you guys doing a show? You don't make any picks or anything?" I'm like, "Well, my life is real busy, and if we get back to doing the shows, I'll do a few here or there." Yeah. But I definitely miss it, and thanks for everybody who's reached out to myself and some friends of mine who've given me some feedback. Actually, at the track last week in Saratoga, a couple of people walked up to me and said they missed the shows, and I really appreciate it. Thank you. And they miss all of us, Scotty, and they get to see Mike more often and your coaching classes, and so they thought I just disappeared. And thank you for having me.
Everybody, thanks for being here. Oldy, how you doing, brother?
I'm doing pretty good. Like David, work very busy. Both kids in the last week back to college, so that was pretty much dominating my life. Just getting caught back up on work. But I've heard the same thing. People miss the show. Scotty and I have talked about it. We're gonna try to focus on doing shows for big days and on big days. Moving forward, hopefully we'll get Scotty on Saturday as well to do an update on what's coming, because Justin, I know there's some really amazing stuff coming to EquinEdge.
But the new win percent's out. Like Scotty, right before I joined, he called me. He said it's out. So the new win percent algorithm's out. And then we'll get going here, everybody. It'll be a quick show. It's probably 30 minutes. We're just gonna do the graded stakes at Saratoga. But he said it's hitting at 36% Oldy, and then but it's a lot more stable. It doesn't have as much volatility, which I think is a good thing. So, Mr. Harrison, did I hear you visited Saratoga?
Yes, I had gone. 4th of July weekend, and had a nice ROI that weekend. And also for the Belmont, I was there for the Thursday card and did well. And this weekend, I was there all day Friday, part of the day Saturday. And it seems like when I go and attend the racetrack in person, I always do better than when I play online. I think I just get into the flair and the confidence builds up, and you're at the track, and I get to go to the paddock. And I don't know, probably a mental thing, but it was a great visit. I got to meet up with 2 friends from the NHC. I don't know if you know James Giamondo and his lovely new wife. They got married, Sunny. They sit at our table, and so it was good. It was good to see old friends from the NHC. And ran into a few people in the backyard, so it was good. It was good. Have you? I heard you've been spotted at Emerald Downs once or twice.
The funny thing is, I've been to Saratoga more recently than
Really?
Emerald Downs, only because I went to Saratoga last summer, not this summer, last summer. But I haven't been to Emerald Downs in a bit. I need to go. I told I have my trainer still down there. I told her I need to come by.
Right. So. And I heard it's a gem. Everybody that has talked about it is a gem. I mean,
it's amazing.
Yeah. So next time I get out to the West Coast there, the northern vicinity of the Western, I may try to get there, but very rarely do I get to the Seattle area. But if I do, I will definitely look you up.
Yes, sir. All right, let's dive in. We have race 8 on Saturday. Oldy, you mentioned it. We'll be live Saturday covering these as well, just like the old days. For 3-year-olds, the Alan Jerkens Memorial. I always people always ask me, guys, like, what do you do first when you handicap? I always watch the race because I like to watch the race simulator and say, can I visualize what is about to happen? It makes it easier for me just to try to understand from a pace perspective. But we got Englishmen here, lots of hype, I would say. I watched this one run a few times. He looks like a good one on the race sim right there. Wins. David, what do you think here? Is he gonna do it or no?
Well, look at it this way. I'm always trying to beat the prohibitive chalk, right?
Mhm.
So, but in this case, let me first make a statement here. If not everybody's aware, 3 Solitude Dude is out. Safi's opting to run at Charlestown. So that kind of sort of reinforces my opinion. So now Baffert won't run against him again with crude velocity. And Safi's bailing out to go to Charlestown. So they must have seen this horse work, and it appears that Englishman is a monster in bloom. The only thing I'll say is that, I can't see stick up with. So if you look at the percentages now, Englishman was 31% to win. Well, you take out the 3, so you're going to have a 51% win, 90 pace advantage over a 74. I can't see stick it up with a gun being anywhere near this horse early. The only question is, does one of the jocks, does Flavian or Johnny V go with this horse early? The only way that this horse could lose is if these jockeys get a little crazy trying to go with Englishman early. But the one that doesn't go, for instance, Local Knowledge, may have a chance to pick up pieces. But at this point, I mean, it's all Englishman to me. I'm not trying to beat this horse. It would have to be a bad start out of the gate. And even if Englishman got off and didn't get the lead, had something happen, I mean, I think he can close. He can rate and probably demolish this field. So it's all Englishman for me. Not even. It doesn't even a 5-horse field now doesn't even pay for me, in my opinion, to play an exacta. So Englishman. If Baffert is avoiding Englishman and Safi's going to Charlestown, then there's no way that I'm going to play against this horse. I either don't play the race or use it as a single in the multis, in the horizontals. Yeah.
Oldy, thoughts?
Yeah, I kind of see it the same way as David. Unfortunately, I want to like Local Knowledge here. I just can't see how, especially with the Safi horse out, that this should be Englishman can sit right off if somebody else goes like he did last time and just press. I don't think it's going to be too crazy of a pace. It's going to be tough for somebody to make up that ground. And Deep Flame did show something last time out. Maybe is on the improve as well. So those 4-5-2 was my cold try there. But
pick up your $4.80 and move on.
Yeah, I will not be playing much there at all. It's not exciting to play a 6-horse race or a 5-horse race there.
And
we don't know who else will scratch out of this before when the morning comes.
Right, exactly. Right. It'll be a 3 or 4-horse field. And the only thing I'll say too, if you watch that race, visually, Englishman was so impressive.
Yeah.
And I just, why waste time? Me, I'm looking for value, but I'm not an idiot. When there's no value there and you have a monster, I wouldn't bet against Flightline ever in my life. So, Englishman and no others for me here.
Yeah, I mean, I'll spend, I don't know, 20 seconds maybe. I mean, you have Jose, you have Cherie. Jose dominating right at Saratoga.
Mhm.
When I covered for you, he had like 10 more wins than anybody. I mean, riding absolutely incredible after he dominated at Fairgrounds, right? And then, I mean, Cherie's just been outstanding. We'll talk about Golden Tempo later. And I mean, he looked like the real deal early on when I watched him at Fairgrounds, and then he lost, right? But he came back and just rolled against Crude Velocity, David, who everybody talked about on the West Coast, right?
Yeah.
And so I completely agree with you both. I actually had some interest in Deep Flame underneath, but I mean, with the scratch of the Safi too, like Englishman, I think will roll here. So I'm forward to. Let's move on. Race 9. Going 9, the Personal Ensign Stakes. Scottish Lassie here, fully subscribed as well, and then some long shots as well. And this one, just a 6-horse field. David, like I said, I always run the race sim. It looks like you might get, some pace here. Scottish Lassie, obviously classy as well. But I'm assuming the Chad Brown run are going to be the favorite. Morning line favorite E has at 4-5. New win percent, guys, right? So less volatile, but you have 2 horses that are taking up 70%. So that tells me like those 2 are definitely probably players in a race like this. The 4 Scottish Lassie wins the race sim. But David, what do you think here?
Yeah. In this case, I think from a handicapping perspective, if you're playing the horizontals, to me, you can't use both of those horses. You've got to pick one and hope to move on because you're losing any value, especially if you have limited funds. Whatever your bankroll is, it doesn't pay to use both of them. Here's my opinion. Scottish Lassie, I don't trust. Going at this distance. This is 9 furlongs. And yes, she has won a race at 9 furlongs, and she's finished second and a third at that distance before. Now, she can improve. It's third race off a layoff. She's a 4-year-old filly now. But, I mean, the only time that she won at 1 1/8 was in the Country Club American Oaks, and it was a 4-horse field. Okay, so, I mean, and she got a clear lead in a rather slow pace. I believe the first half was 48, on a track that was rather fast. So they just let her cruise. And then, I mean, she ran against, the layoff. She came back at 7 furlongs, very impressive. And then the reason I questioned her ability against this group at 1 1/8 is, I mean, she had the lead in the Chuvy. And got caught by Fully Subscribed. And, Snow White is in this race again. And, I would probably, have the opinion that if Fully Subscribed is going to lose this race because of maybe the lack of speed, she'd get wired. And maybe Snow White is the one second off a layoff that could just get the jump on these and, outkick Scottish Lassie. So that would maybe be my value play for a second but Junior is usually not that aggressive from an outside post. And he doesn't usually gun like that. I mean, if it was Luis Saez or, even
Saez rode last out, David.
Yes.
Too.
Yeah. And he did gun, but he gunned from the 1 post. So to make a long story short, I mean, I believe that Fully Subscribed to the better filly. Yes, she did get beat in the Argent Phipps and chased but who did she get beat by? Nitrogen, who did not embarrass herself at all in the Whitney. So to me, it's all Fully Subscribed. And if I reach out to an exact, I probably try to get Snow White second, or maybe even Margie's Intention. Not really solid opinion on those 2, but I would single again. Now I'm chalky in 2 races, so I'm singling most likely Fully Subscribed. Oldy, how did you see this?
So pretty similar. Um, you know, I agree with your statement on Scottish Lassie. You know, did run better, not on the lead last time out, nearly beating Fully Subscribed. Um, but you know, with and I don't. You say it's Snow White. To me, it's Snooty. But I just don't think that horse wants to go 9 furlongs.
That could be too. Yeah,
That looks like a mile and a 16th horse from what I'm seeing there. But so I was 2-4-1, but I could see using the 2 with the 1 underneath, in some exactas, and just play that straight up that way and hope that the 4 gets into a pace duel with the 6.
Right, and the 1 will be closing. Inside post is very desirable, very advantageous at a mile and 8. Just that this horse doesn't really class up, but she'll be the only one running late in this field. I don't like Nazori, and Speed Chopper is a turf horse, so that's the only logical closer. So yeah, I think the 2-1 exacta. Not that I have a lot of confidence, but to me that would be the value play in this race. To me, you've got as my handicapping goes and my horseplay, as far as ticket shaping, it's either you're going to use one or the other. There's no value using 2 if you're playing the pick 6 or pick 5.
Yeah, we're all thinking the same page tonight, but I thought Margie's Intention maybe could surprise at a big price, so I actually probably liked her a little bit more than you both. But I am not on Scottish Lassie. Hey Dave will be on with us on Saturday. Everybody, win Dave Duncan. But I kind of thought Oldy, similar to you, like Scottish Lassie probably going to duel. I don't, talk about this in the coaching class. And we've seen a lot lately. I am not a fan of money burners. Like especially when you got speed to the outside, and she's too inconsistent, and she's young. I mean, don't get me wrong. So, it's not like I had 9 starts, 4-year-old filly. Yeah, Jose, but there's just something about her I don't love. So I agree. I mean, I was on Fully Subscribed on top, and then again, Margie's Intention. Maybe if Fully Subscribed somehow, it's something would probably have to happen for her to lose this, in my opinion. I think she sits probably a good trip. Inside post, David, like you mentioned, should be fine. I mean, so she just seems better as she's, could improve off of this. And to your point, too, in the Phipps, right? That was an 82 nitrogen, as you mentioned. But this is a 78, so it's actually, it's an easier group, and she can improve off, I think, that last effort. So it could be chalky, but I do like, again, Margie's Intention can be a big price. And then the others, I was similar to you, David. I think the 6 likely a duel. Speed Chopper, I'm not sure why he's here. And then I'm not really a fan of the 3. So the strong GSRs on the 1, 2, 4. But 2-1 4 for me, but I like the 2-1. Let's keep rolling. Race 10, the first and also only turf race of these graded stakes. 3-year-old fillies, the Lake Placid. Oldy, I'll let you go first this time. A nice field of 9. I'll run the race sim, but where'd you land here?
So I've eaten chalk the first 2 races, so I'm going to fire a long shot here. And I like Oscar Bound, who was 1 of 1 at the mile distance, broke its maiden the only time that it ran a mile, and it got the lead. Has a big pace advantage here. I think gets the distance and surprises everybody and it's bombs away and bombs a lot of people out of the pick 5 and pick 6 here.
I mean, not a bad way to play with a couple chalk. I mean,
Yeah.
I love it, man. I mean, she's stretching out, right? I mean, to your point, she won at Gulfstream on the turf, but obviously a way easier group. But, you know, she hasn't been on the lead till that last out effort. That was on the dirt. Now they flip back over to the turf. I mean, dude, she'd blow up the board.
And I think wants 2 turns. You know, didn't get the lead in the other 2-turn races. Also got wet turf, which may actually be a benefit if she gets on the lead here, if we still have a little moisture on Saturday. But you know, I just think that she's run better at 2 turns than she has at 1 turn. Because even the race before that, before she won at a mile at Gulfstream, she was in the lead in the stretch. They're going 8.5. So I do not know why they have this horse running 1-turn sprints. And I think that this horse is going to enjoy the stretch back out. And I do not love anybody in this field either. So that this just seemed like the first spot where you could see a big price coming.
I mean, 2-point pace advantage. All right, David. You can't get a longer shot on the board because he's the longest.
Well, you stole my thunder, my friend. Jesus Almighty, I don't even know what to say. I am just baffled and like you surprised. So my strategy was, you know, I'm not a chalk player, so you stole my thunder. The first 2 races, I'm all chalk. So this is the race that you need to reach out for a long shot. I want no part of Queen of Hawaii, and I want no part of Deep Learning. And I had a long shot special along with my top pick. But when I heard that, I thought Oldy was going to pick mine, but he didn't pick a long shot special. He picked a long shot that is just totally out of the realm. I am like shocked. And I'll tell you why. You realize, Oldy, that this horse, this filly, ran last at Finger Lakes and got a 50 in a 50 SOR. And the only time she won was at Gulfstream in another 50 SOR. Do you realize she's stepping up to a 74? Yes, she's got, in your favor, she does have a huge pace advantage, an 86 to a 54. So there's absolutely no speed. But this horse, to me, is just cheap speed, dies around the far turn, and sets it up for somebody who's going to be relatively close to the pace. But let me get to my top pick first. And the horse that I'm landing on here, I'm playing only 2 in the horizontals. And that would be the Scotty Longshot Ultimate Love, which would be my top pick. Now, I'm a little concerned that Mikey Trombetta is only 0 for 13. Paco, anytime I play Paco, he tends to have a trouble trip. Even at Monmouth, you know, he can go 57%, and then I put a nice win bet on one at 3-1, and he has given me the worst trip in the world. So me and Paco don't have a lot of luck. But in this case, because I think both favorites are vulnerable, and you can't keep going chalky if you want to have any profit. So this is a race that it cries out for a long shot. I mean, she ran in a 76 SOR the last time. There's a 74 now, along with those other horses. You know, she has, you know, she's a closer, but I think the pace will be relatively fair because of that speedball, Oscar Bound, the cheap speed. Sorry, Oldy. The cheap speed with a 2% chance to win. I think it's actually less than that. But I will be the first one to give you congrats if this horse even if it hits the board. But my long shot special, along with the 9, would be the 2 Coca Motion. Coca Motion now, and a race with these fillies can be inconsistent. I've seen many Lake Placids, and sometimes you get inscrutable results. Here's the issue: it's Withred Beckman, second race off a layoff. The last race, she had the 12 post. You can throw that race out, and she didn't run that badly. She actually closed from a 10 to 6. She was like only 2 lengths behind, but that outside post compromised her. She now moves to an inside post. She should improve second time off a layoff. I mean, she did break her maiden, pretty nicely at Tampa, and then was bet as the favorite at Tampa. Maybe didn't like the off going. That track was rated good, and that was a grade 3. And that came up, let's see, the SOR in that race was 70, and also the last race was 70. So you throw out the 12 posts, you get a 2 post. And I think that this horse she's going to be closer to the pace today. I know the pace metric says that she's got where is her number? Let me reverse that. Yeah, she's a 44. But after Oscar Bound spits the bit around the far turn, then you've got the 9, 3, and 2. And I think the 2 is the one that's going to make the first run and take the lead. And Ultimate Love's my second one. So that's my long shot special. And my long shot special now is only, 12 to 1 morning line and EE morning line 15 to 1. And then Oldy blows me away with a 30 to 1 morning line and a 50 to 1 EE morning line. So my long shot special is a much shorter price, but it's all the 8 Ultimate Love and then the long shot special, the 2 Cocomotion, who I think will go off probably closer to 10 or 12 to 1.
Yeah, I actually put the 2 in second, David. So you and I don't really. My notes talked about the post and everything as well, so I won't spend too much more time there. I can see why, for everybody who's online, thanks for joining. Like, this is a brutal group. Like, this is not like, I'm like, man, these are grade 2 runners for real. Like, but you have Chad Brown here as the 4 deep learning and also has the 5, right? I don't know how to pronounce that, so I'm not going to try. But ships in, Flavian rides. It would not surprise me to see Chad win the race. So, I mean, I put deep learning on top, but just as much I could see the 5. I like the 8 too, David, that you mentioned, but I put deep learning just because of the experience. Second time out, face some of these, face the 8. David, I also thought the 8 at a price that would definitely be spread here in a horizontal because so many can win this race, right? I mean, you look at the race sim, look at the stretch. I always tell people to run the race sim to the stretch because the stretch can be more accurate than the finish, right? As the race goes along, the race sim, it's most accurate at the first call. But like every horse is right there. I mean, within 2 lengths. Sometimes you'll see that at the finish. It's a little bit different, but it's, not quite the top win, but ends up being the top pick, wins the race sim. But I don't have a lot of confidence in this race. But, Oldy, where did you land? I put the 4 on top, deep learning, but Oldy, where'd you land underneath outside of your, 30 to 1 bomber?
So I had the 5 Namus, whatever. And then I had the 8 Ultimate Love. I will tell you that one of my, I did that race sim study. One of my race sim angles seems to, that came up in there seems to exist here, and it's on a pretty long shot that we have not mentioned. So I'll make this my 4th horse, the 3 Flowerhead. And that is when a horse is between the 2nd and 3rd point of call and makes a big middle move in the race sim to the lead.
I see that. Yeah, okay.
Yeah. That horse, I'll have to go back and look, but it wins over 30% of the time. Only on turf, only turf routes.
Yeah, but no, but I love it. I'm glad that you mentioned it's just because if you're going to have chalk, it's definitely a spread race here, right? I mean, Oldy's taking the 2 longest shots on the board. So, I mean, David, you and I both talked about the 2, I mean, it wouldn't surprise me though if Chad wins this race for the 4 with the 4 or the 5. I mean, they're both going to be 3-4 to 1.
I mean, and this sequence, obviously has a chance to totally chalk out. I mean, if the favorites, one of the favorites, Deep Learning or the YE, the one horse win, and then you have Bookham Dano win, and then you have the favorite in the Ballerina win, and then you either have Renegade or Golden Tempo win, it's going to chalk out but usually you'll get some kind of strange result on a 6-race stakes race, a card, what you don't expect. So this is the race. So I mean, if this race doesn't produce a decent price, then I'm probably done for the day until the Travers, but with my horizontals. But so I figured this is the race, obviously, to reach out. And again, you mentioned the quality of this race. It appears more like a grade 3 to me than a grade 2. And you'll find most years that the Lake Placid is like that. The group of 3-year-old fillies don't seem that strong here. Go on a mile, that only want a mile. This is the race that would most likely be conducive to producing a decent price horse.
All right, let's keep rolling, fellas. Race 11, 500,000 for Ghost Stakes. David, you mentioned Bookham Dano gonna be a heavy favorite, 56% to win, which doesn't surprise me. Outclasses this group pretty heavily, has won a lot more money. So there's gonna be a lot of money on Bookham Dano. But David, what'd you think? Legit, or can somebody upset?
Oh yeah, I mean, how do you? I've tried to beat Bookham Dano before. I'm not giving up totally, but obviously this time I'm using him because first of all he's 5 for 6 at Saratoga. I mean, he goes off at prohibitive favorites every time. And the last, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. He's fired the last 8 times. You go back to the Cigar Mile, and before that would be 9, 10, 11. He didn't like the distance. So if you look at sprint races, he's fired like in 11 straight races where he's been within a neck. I mean, it's just, he's unbelievably consistent. So he's 12 for 19 lifetime. What a horse. Yeah. I mean, but the only way, obviously he's a must use. I'm not going to be singling him though. I think the only way to possibly that he loses this race is via a wire job. And my advice would be, if you're watching races at Saratoga, look, see how the track is playing. They're getting a lot of rain tonight, supposedly. The track can change. But this year, I noticed when I went this weekend, this is the first year in a number of years where Saratoga has, the days that I've gone, it seems to favor closers. And also the inside was not great for the 2 days it was there. So if the track changes in favor of speed, just pick that up, and that could change things drastically here. But to me, the only way that Bookham Dano gets beat is via wire job, and that would be Tip Top Thomas. I mean, Tip Top Thomas off a layoff since last November on the Dwyer, which he probably didn't really want to go a mile against that group. Disco Time beat him. And let's see that. Let me see. What was the SOR in that race? The Dwyer was an 82. Now he faces a 78. Faced a 78 last time. And off a long layoff, he held on pretty nicely and just got run down by Senior Officer. To me, he's going to be gunned to the lead. And that's the only way that this horse, that Bookham Dano could get beat. If this horse guns out to, say, a 4 or 5 length lead around the far turn, and it maybe you get a somewhat speed favoring track, it looks like the horse that has the most upside. Maybe he's a future star. That race was pretty impressive off a long layoff, and that was not that weak of a group. So to me, it's Tip Top Thomas. I am actually trying to. I'll be using a win bet on Tip Top Thomas, and then backing it up with an exacta with Bookham Dano, and those are the two I'll be using in my horizontals. That's the only way I can. But obviously, you could have justification. Obviously, the two single Bookham Dano.
Yeah, in Oldy, I'll jump to in a second, only because David, I actually put Tip Top Thomas on top just from what you said. I'm like, I try to beat Bookham Dano, but it looked like a 2-horse race to me, Oldy. Like but what do you see it similar or no? You see it different?
I also had Tip Top Thomas on top, trying to beat Bookham Dano there. The other horse I like a little bit of is T-Craft for Belmont. But that was my third spot there.
Okay.
But big long shot, really only beaten Allowance Company. Could get first run though. Just hasn't done much since 2025, so that's also concerning. But maybe Belmont aims at big days. We know that. Maybe this one's going to be ready here. That's my theory.
And the horse has been working pretty well.
Yeah, absolutely.
Pretty steady. Yeah.
All right. Let's keep rolling then. We all like Tip Top Thomas, but Bookham Dano could be very, very tough. Let's go to race 12, also 7 furlongs.
And just if I can just interrupt, just so people know, also there's a horse out of here that may have been a factor with the speed. Is the 7 Banishing? Banishing's out, and Jacobson's opting to run at Charlestown. So
I meant to mention that as well.
That's another reason that gave me the impression that Tip Top could wire this field. I'm sorry to interrupt, Justin.
No, I'm glad you did. Thank you, David. Okay. I wish there was like some way that they would do that in advance through Equibase, because then we could be able to pull in. Because EquinEdge can pull it in. But
Dave Grenning. It's from Dave Grenning. That is a very reliable source.
Oh, okay. I got you.
Yeah, I saw it as well.
Yeah.
Oh, cool. The 12th, right? Also 7 furlongs. This one's for the Fillies and Mares. Resorts World Ballerina. Bigger group here where we got 12 of them. Oldy, why don't you go first this time? Win percent show it's like not super strong, Ways and Means looks like probably going to be the favorite. You got speed to the outside in Our Disaster, but what do you think here?
I'm going to go with the Pirate Horse, Our Disaster. Here, the Grade 1 winner. I've always said that I like Ways and Means better on a wet track, even though Ways and Means has recently shown better ability on a dry track, but really is been mostly a Grade 2 runner in terms of winning. And, I just don't love and have never loved the horse on wet tracks here, on dry tracks here. So, I think Our Disaster might be an improving horse as well. Has shown in the past the ability to rate. Saffy's not taking this one to Charlestown, so probably a runner here. So that's where I ended up, and I think that potentially Echo Sound could get first run if Our Disaster goes too fast, and could also be a big upsetter there as well.
Yeah, I mean, you're getting 7% too, so to win from out there, you gotta have speed, right? But Our Disaster has speed, so it can be dangerous, kind of. But that's the only way. That's I think that's gonna make it brutal on Eclatant, but because it's just a brutal post with no speed. Yeah. But David, thoughts?
Yeah, I think this is a bang up race. And to me, Ways and Means is the class of the race, but I'll never single or make my key horse the class in a 12 horse field. I have a feeling there's going to be a couple of scratches. That's my only concern. So this is the way I see it. This is a race that I would go 4 deep, but I like to put a pretty big price on top. And there's something that's tempting me here, and Justin's going to probably pick this up pretty quickly. But let's first get to what I don't like. I checked the test out from 2025, and I looked at the test from 2024, and I was kind of surprised that they both got the same SORs, because in my opinion, I don't want anybody that comes out of the test from 2025. I thought it was a rather weak race. I know they both in the ratings got an 84 SOR, which surprises me a bit. So with that being said, I don't want any part then of Echo Sound, Kilwin, who took advantage of a fast pace last time out to close at Ellis. Kilwin won the test last year with his wicked pace. To me, I don't want Usha. I don't want Beauty Reigns. So I want no one out of that 2025 race. So obviously I'm using Ways and Means. I hate to use a morning line favorite that was 9-5, but I won't single this horse because I don't have the confidence, because you look at the last 2 races, she barely got up and beat Grand Job at 4-5. She got wired by Our Disaster. So that's Our Disaster I would use as one of my 4, but not on top. She destroyed the field in the Bed of Roses. And but then she did lose the race before on a sloppy track. So at times she could get beat. She's going to be the favorite. But the horse that I'm looking to, the 2 horses, Maida impressed me the last time. That was an impressive performance, going wire to wire basically. But she was helped with the slow break of another horse who's in here, which we will get to. But I mean, I think Maida might have upside here. The honorable miss is she was pretty impressive. She could move up here and improve, in my opinion. She should be right on the lead. My question is, does she need the lead to win? If she does, she might get fried here with Our Disaster in a race. So I will use her. So I'll use the 7. I'll use the 8. And here we go, Justin. You knew this was coming probably, but it may surprise you again. We have a horse here that's trained by Butchie Reed.
Okay? Yeah,
Butchie Reed. All right, hear me out. This is going to match Oldy's long shot of Oscar Bound, and might even be longer of a price, but I don't think you'll get 30-1. I think she'll be much less. So she had her career was going great as a 3-year-old last year until she stretched out in the Comely. 9 furlongs is probably much too far for her. The only time she's tried that distance, she had the lead and she just packed it in late. She got beat by Fully Subscribed, so nothing wrong with that. Then comes back off a layoff at Laurel. Believe that was Preakness Day. Yes, that was Preakness Day. Pretty decent field. What the SOR in that race? Let me just check that. I had it put down here. So in that race, the SOR was a 76. And that was a comeback race. Not very good there, but steady bump start. So throw that race out. She was 3-1 in a 5-horse field. Then she comes back and airs at Parks at 1-9. Expected to win. If she lost, didn't win impressively, it would have been a very, disappointing effort. Then the key is in the honorable miss. That was a 7-horse field. She had the inside post, the 2 posts. She was bet down to 11-1. She faced Maida, but she didn't get the lead. She got a bad break. And look who was on this horse. Irad was on her that day. And I don't ever recall Irad riding for Butchie Reed. So they probably thought the horse was live. Totally eliminated at the break. And when this horse is not on the front end or close to the lead, you can just pack it in. So looking for a better start, she steps up. She's got to step up and improve. but this is my horse to hit the board, and I will also use on top. This horse she's 4 for 8 lifetime. I think she's going to run surprisingly well to most people, and Paco picks up the mount. He might just gun, and the issue is if he guns and Maida guns with Sheldon Russell and Tyler guns, that's going to set it up for Ways and Means. And that, to me, that's the only horse that is going to be the one closing. So I'm going 4 deep. I'm using the 6, 7, 8, and 10. I will make win bets on both the 8 and win place on the 6 and exactas and all kinds of crazy stuff with the 4 of them. So that's
you like this as a betting race, then I can see.
Yes. Oh, absolutely. Yes.
I mean, which I can see. I actually like Kilwin, David. That's why I went on top, but mainly just there's a lot of speed here. Like when you say, okay, Paco gonna ride. Well, Sheldon riding for Brittany. Paco gonna ride your 6 horse Kappa, and you look at many of these, like Our Disaster is 100% sending, right? I mean, you have to, like, I mean, maybe one of them tries to rate or something, but I thought this might fall apart, and that's why I can see Ways and Means definitely could win, but Kilwin, the only 2 horses have the blue arrow on those closers, and so it's just I kind of went that way in this race, that this thing might just completely fall apart. The inside posts, David, so the 1 through 4 posts since 2025 win 76% of the time. So, and it obviously track bias, but the majority of the time they're going to run well. And on a big day and all this speed, and you end up having who? Jose Ortiz. You get the leading jock at the meet on this horse. Like, so just as much pace make the race. That's just what I thought might happen. I just think they would just absolutely fly. I do like Our Disaster, though, a little bit, Oldy, because it looks like the speed of the speed. But I put Kilwin on top.
Now, if I can, who do you like underneath?
I thought that I like Our Disaster. I also
Our Disaster, and anybody else?
And I like Ways and Means because I do think just from a class and like if this thing, so I like the 10 up front, then the 2 and the 7 closing. But so I'd probably be 2, 7, 10, David, for my 3 picks.
Okay, and just in support of your horse, originally I liked Kilwin as one of my top picks, but then I started looking. I watched a replay of both the tests from 2025 and 2024, and I'll just point this out. In Kilwin in the 2025 test beat 2 horses. I'll just give you the 2 who ran second and third. I'm not going to go the whole field. The 2 horses that she beat were Ragtime and Beauty Reigns. And you go to the 2024 test, the 2 horses that Ways and Means beat was Emery and My Main Squeeze. To me, those are better fillies. So that's why it surprised me a little bit that they both got the same SOR. Maybe one should have been 84, one and 86. I'm not saying it's a significant difference, but you're right. With all the speed, I was originally looking for a closer, but I just thought that test last year was weak. Even when I watched it, but she's got a very valid chance to win. And I'd love the workout on August 11th. So if I could, I might even go 5 deep. So that would be my 5th horse. So I didn't want to discount that horse entirely.
I mean, she's 5 for 9, David. I mean, it's been second off the layoff, right? She's working well, like you said. I mean, this was an 80 over at Ellis, and she won by 2 1/4 lengths. I mean, the main thing with her, like, literally toss all the turf races. It's crazy. She came in, horses. I bet it doesn't happen often. Horses that win at Kentucky Downs off the pace like that on that turf course. Because a lot of times in Kentucky Downs starting this weekend, right? But I mean, I just think she's talented. I mean, there's so many ways that you could forgive a lot of her races, and she obviously wants to sprint on the dirt. I mean, you look so. I don't. And again, if some of the speed scratches out or stuff, if the pace gets really changed, I might think a little bit differently, but I think it could set up for her. So
Yeah, and the thing was that you'd see very rarely is as a filly coming off, 2 5.5 furlong sprints on the turf, and then going up to Churchill Downs and running a 7 furlong overnight stakes, and going from 5.5 to 5.5 to 7 and winning, and then winning a Grade 1 right after that. So yeah, I'm just concerned about the ability, the feel quality. But then the more that I look at it, you think you've convinced me to go 5 deep in this race.
Yeah, if I have horses I would use underneath going 4 or 5 deep here, and neither of them have been named. I think Usha could be sitting on a big race. I think she's better coming off the pace as well. Did win a Grade 1, hasn't been the same horse this year, but I think she could get a piece in second or third. And then Grammy Girl, the 5, who is in excellent form, hasn't finished out of second place since August of 2025, and could stalk and be in a better position than Kilwin and get first run if something like a pace meltdown were to happen. And, so I think that potentially Grammy Girl is a big bomber especially underneath, coming behind Ways and Means and all the speed there.
Okay, now just point out, you just reinforced my opinion about Kappa Kappa with your pick of Usha, who I don't like whatsoever. Kappa Kappa now is just not a Parks horse. Kappa Kappa actually won the Raven Run and beat and actually just sort of demolished Usha in that race. But it was just a total pace meltdown, I believe. So yeah. So I think again, this is such a wide open race. That especially if Ways and Means has a little trouble trip or anything, that there's just so many that can win this race. So this is another race you've got to look for a little value. You can't chalk out and you could technically play an $8 or $16 ticket and play all chalk, and you'll probably get less than $200 on your pick six.
All right. I like the strength of racehorses. I was just looking at that. So I have Kilwin on top. Oldy got our disaster. David, who'd you put first?
On top, I guess I played Maida on top, hoping that she may be able to avoid a pace duel and maybe sit second. And I think there's going to be a scratch or two. That's the difficulty picking a couple days in advance in a field like this. I mean, if one of those speeds gets scratched, it could change my opinion. But I'll say I'll put Maida on top and Kappa Kappa for second, Ways and Means third, and our disaster and Kilwin. I'll play some kind of combinations, maybe a couple tries and things like that.
Okay. Deb, good to see you. I love that, Deb, you're hanging out again.
Yeah.
Hey, Deb.
Everybody else, thanks for being here. We got one more DraftKings Travers Stakes. We've all been waiting for this race. New win percents are in. Top win percent, C-Strike, 34%, Oldy. You have Oselli at 20-1, who's also the 6 horse like your bomber earlier, but for some reason I don't think I see you taking Oselli. But where did you land?
So I landed I've been against Golden Tempo the entire time, but not as hard as I've been against Renegade. And I am going to go with Golden Tempo on top here, with the caveat that if either Napoleon Solo or Leading Change scratch, the other one would be my top pick in that situation. Yeah, so
to get loose on the lead and just wire the field.
Yeah, the two of them have such a big pace advantage. If only one of them was there, that it's really hard to imagine Emerging Market or Sea Strike being able to keep up at that point. So those are my top three picks, even though one is it's really a one or the other. If both race, I don't like either of them. And then I also like the Emerging Markets underneath as a possibility there. I think maybe this is, Emerging Market was one of those illness horses in the Chad Barn. It maybe needed a few races and some maturity, but I hear that they think this horse is very talented. I will note also on Sea Strike, note the SOR of that Curlin and the move up here. And to me, that's just, that Curlin was basically a low level allowance race. And this is a true grade one. And for me, that's too big of a step up in class for a horse that really can't get out of the gate.
Which horse was that, Oldy? I'm sorry. I just
the 7 Sea Strike.
Okay, right.
So that's my theory is it's either one of the speed horses or Golden Tempo.
Yeah. Okay. Mr. Harrison?
Okay, yes. I am going to reach out. First of all, I'd like to just state probably the obvious to a lot of horse players. This is a really, in my opinion, a real weak crop this year. It's really, yep. And I mean, Golden Tempo, all the shout out to Cherie DeVoe, great training job. This horse has absolutely no early speed, has won twice at the distance, loves the further they go, the better this horse is, but he's not fast. So when I see a horse that's not fast in a race that seems to be a lot of possible up and coming horses with room for improvement. Now, these 3-year-olds at this time of year can improve. We saw a horse, and I'm going to have a senior moment. Not a Barefoot horse. West Coast horse came in it was a Barefoot and just blew the field.
Arrogate, is that who you're thinking?
Arrogate, right. This reminds me, this actually reminds me of the commendable year when Fushiashi Pegasus went out with an injury and some other horse. I mean, these horses, I think any one of these horses can win. So this is when I look for value. So I'll start out with who I don't want in this race. I don't want Renegade. I don't want Golden Tempo. I don't want horses that short. Golden Tempo beats me. All the love and congratulations. I also don't want any part of Baby Vino. I think this horse is just freaked out in the mud, got a perfect trip up the rail, and it's probably a Monmouth freak, never been over this track. It's working well, but I want no part of that horse. I don't like the 10 with the outside post. I don't see the love for the 2 leading change. Now, it's a $500,000 yearling out of Gun Runner. Maybe I'm missing something. Maybe this horse is just a monster. But how do you step up after a third race, 2 races, and move from the Indiana Derby, a grade 3, into a grade 1 Travers and win? Never seen anything like that happen in my life. Napoleon Solo.
That is the top pick.
No, the top pick is yeah. And I was like, I looked at that and I'm like, hold on a second. I went like this in the morning and I'm like, is that right? Or am I? But I don't get it. But if it happens, shout out to the analytics. But I'd love to make a case for that horse. So I looked at it again, but that's going to be real tough. Napoleon Solo to me, and I'm on the Oldy bandwagon. I question his ability to get the distance. Monmouth can be more speed favoring. The way that the track has played at Saratoga this meet is not as speed favoring at 1.25 miles as normal. You can have horses closing. Just watch how the track plays. If you see somewhat of a speed bias or inside bias, I'd be on Napoleon Solo. Love the way the horse is working out. But don't forget, Chad Summers is 0 for 24. Doesn't usually win grade ones, and tired in that race. Paco gave an awful ride, leaving the rail open. So chance with Napoleon Solo. But the horses that I really want to make, I'll mention 3 horses here. Originally, I was going to toss out Sea Strike, but before this show, I watched a replay of the Curlin, and I'm not tossing Sea Strike. He beat absolutely nothing in that race, but it was Chief Wallaby. He probably didn't want to go the distance, but just visually impressive. And, Pratt goes off of Emerging Market to ride this horse. So I'm going to give that horse a shot, but not on top. I'll say Emerging Market has been very disappointing since coming up from Fairgrounds, winning that mile and 3/16 race. Derby, kind of a bad trip outside. It's just in fire. Then a bad trip in the Belmont. But what I was really disappointed is in the prep race, either finishing second at 3 to 5. But don't forget, those were older, and those were hard-hitting older horses. Winstock is no slouch, and Dreamlike is no slouch, and they're older horses with more experience. So. And he had the 8 post. So I would give this horse an outside chance to run well and hit the board. Chad's no dummy. You got to race over the track. Maybe his goal was don't even try to win. Let's just get a race over the track. But then again, Pratt jumps off and goes to Sea Strike. But the horse that I'm trying to get on top is, and I think that a former horse that Oldy liked was number 4, the Puma. This horse comes out of the.
I'm a longtime Puma hater.
Okay, now just hear me out. So this horse won the Tampa Bay Derby, and let's look at the numbers on the Tampa Bay Derby. Let me just pull it up. So the Tampa Bay Derby was a 70 SOR, right? Okay. Then goes to the Florida Derby and races against, Commandment, Chief Wallaby, all the Florida horses, and had the lead and just got nosed at the end. Real tight photo that I couldn't call. It had a bit of a slow start, didn't have much early speed, and then has a layoff, didn't make the Triple Crown. Has some injury going on. Oldy, you may be familiar with that. But I love the work on August 14th. Comes back in the Haskell, and this is before the August 14th work. Gets a sloppy track that the horse has never competed on before. And it didn't get off well. Was no factor in the race. To me, that's a total throw-out race. Saez off, Castellano back on. He's riding quite well at this meet. He's only at 56 mounts and it's 14%. Just rode his 6,000th winner the other day. I do have the question mark of the horse's ability to get the distance out of Essential Quality. But to me, this horse may have some upside. And looking at all the horses in the race, this is the horse that offers the most value, in my opinion, with the best chance to run better. So I'm going to put the Puma on top. I'm going to also include the Emerging Market to hit the board, Sea Strike to be there. So 2 of the Chads. And again, if there's a speed favoring track or a leading change scratches and Napoleon Solo scratches, I'll be on the same wavelength as Oldy and use one of them. And then to round it out, I'll put a Sully for 4th for a superfecta. The maiden should run okay at this distance. No chance to win, but could hit the board. And, probably put in, Renegade to run somewhere 3rd or 4th or something like that. Golden Tempo to me doesn't fire here. I just have that feeling. So that's where I stand in this race. The Puma on top for me. And Oldy, I want you to make a comment on that now.
All right. So the Puma is basically last year's journalism. The horse can't get out of the gate, always finds trouble in its trips. And, we're all keyed in on the one race that it didn't find trouble. And, the horse, it's the same situation, no tactical speed and can't get out of the gate. So it's going to find trouble if there's trouble to be found. And to me, that's what, that there's too many horses that can avoid trouble in this race that are better than the Puma. And you talk about Chief Wallaby. Well, Chief Wallaby has proven not to be any good either. And, and really nobody out of that Florida Derby race has come back and done anything. I just think you're looking at a second or third place horse here.
Yeah, and I wouldn't say Chief Wallaby's not any good. I think he might be better off at a 7 furlongs to a mile horse going forward. But yeah, and again, I don't think anyone's that good here in the 3-year-olds crowd.
This is
and
one of the worst
Golden Tempo. I give Golden Tempo all the credit in the world. Loves the distance and is beating up on bad groups, a bad crop. But I'm looking for somebody with upside. And then it's Sea Strike originally threw out after watching the curling. Like, there's nobody. The curling is just awful, weak. And then after watching it again today, the horse is visually impressive. So I can't, not a toss anymore. I'm definitely going to include. But I see your point about the Puma. But I mean, just the last race was a total throwout for me. So because of the sloppy track and the slow start, and if the horse gets off slow again, I'll just have myself to blame.
So yeah, Bluegrass, good to see you. Man, I love how you guys went through that, because it's like, I mean, I agree with you on the pace, so I'll kind of just summarize and we'll close it down, because you all, I think, pretty much talked probably about my horses, but I agree with you on the pace. I actually think Leading Change has a pretty good shot, just because, as you will talk, like, this is not a great group. Golden Tempo needs like that perfect trip, pace, close in, just a great horse, I think, comparison to this group, though, David, like you talked about, like maybe just beating up on kind of a bad group. But I also see like that situation with Jose kind of gonna have to get a pretty good trip, I think. And like, can an improving horse win this race? And so I landed on, yeah, probably. That's why I thought Leading Change had a look. But I also, when I saw Sea Strike, I didn't know this horse like at all. Like I haven't really, David, played any Saratoga. I played a little bit for the 2 days, the Oldy. I filled in for Oldy, but I pretty much just play Gulfstream and like big days I'll play, and then in the winter I play Fairgrounds, right? So I started looking, and of course I looked on X, because there's going to be lots of information about horses on X, and found all types of opinions and everything. But I would say, I'm like, whoa, this horse actually probably has some talent. But I looked and I'm like, well, it just won the Curlin, right? I mean, I don't, but I was in some like 279. I think Golden Tempo Oldie has a big shot. I had this horse on top. I probably land on Sea Strike on top, honestly, just because the top win percent. And I think it's just not that great of a group. And you get a horse here, it's a big improvement. I mean, this horse going to try to come out of the Curlin and win a grade 1, but I don't know. It would not surprise me. But I also could see Oldie that Golden Tempo runs a huge race again, and just David beats up on kind of a bad group. So I'd say 7-9-2 for me. I've been on Emerging Market. I'm not really a fan of Renegade. Napoleon Solo, I think, again, only if the 2 scratches. I don't like Ocelli. I don't like Baby Vino, and I don't like Silent Tactics. So I don't know. It kind of, I see it. I would probably just use those 3. Oh, actually, I'd probably use the Puma, maybe. David, I might use the Puma, not just because you had on top, but I've seen other people like this horse. So, maybe. But Oldie, I agree with you. Puma can't get out of the gate, always has trouble. But the only thing, I mean, is still pretty lightly braced, right? It's only the 6th start. So, is this going to be the day? Maybe, because, maybe he's finally able to get out of the gate and have a good trip. Castellano rides. He rode what, 3 back for the win, rode 2 back and nearly won. So he's probably given this horse some of the best rides, right? So, but
right. And also, Justin, I originally, after watching the curling and knowing this horse, this 7 was going to the Travers, I'm like, there's a horse is, you want to have him at 6-1 in the curling, but you don't want him at 7-2 or 4-1. I think he'll be lower than 5-1 because of the Pratt Brown combination, Chad Brown combination. But then if you look again on that the Belmont Stakes Day race, June 6th, that Butter race, that turned out to be an absolutely key race. Butter came back and won again in a allowance race. Village Person won its next start. Local Knowledge won, and now is in the stakes race today. And Sea Strike won. And I think there's another horse in that race that came out and won their next race. So then, and then Sea Strike comes back and wins, going 2 turns quite impressively, visually impressively. So I'm like, I can't leave this horse out. I don't want to use it on top because I think you're going to get less than 5-1. And I think the Puma will be 10, 12. I think the Puma might get lost on the board a bit because of the presence of Renegade. You got the Preakness winner. You got Golden Tempo. They'll be betting Sea Strike. So the 2 horses I think are going to get, and Leading Change is going to get bet because of the trainer and jockey combo. So the 2 horses I think are going to get lost on the board a bit, or both the Puma and Emerging Market. I don't think Emerging Market could win necessarily, but I think run a much better race than it had in the Belmont. So to me, that's the reason I'm looking for value here and in a wide open race. So I think all your opinions are solid, and I think this could be won by a number of horses. So it's very, very good. Not a strong rendition of the Travers, no world beaters, but a very, very it should be a very, very exciting race. Very good.
I think it will be a good race. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Oldy, anything before we depart?
I was just going to say, join us on Saturday, starting at 3 p.m. Eastern, through the Travers. We will have coverage of all the graded stakes races, starting with race 8 at Saratoga. And also like and subscribe to the channel. And we appreciate all of you taking the time to listen to us and to talk about horses. Thank you, everybody.
Yeah, thanks everybody. It's a pleasure, and good luck with the show on Saturday. I'll try to join in as in the chat room. I'm on a music festival on Saturday, and I promised the wife I would go, so I'll be taping, recording the races, and I'll come back not knowing the results, and I'm going to be watching the stakes races probably about 8 or 9 o'clock at night, and having a few cocktails. So good luck, everybody. I will try to watch some of the show earlier in the afternoon on Friday from the golf course with my grandson. So thanks for having me on. It's been a pleasure to be back. So, and good luck this weekend, everybody.
Thanks, David. Scott, thank you. We miss you guys too. We will see you Saturday, and have a great end of the week. Tomorrow's Friday, so we'll see you in a little bit less than 48 hours. We'll be back live, Oldy, first time in a bit, and everybody have a good weekend. Chat soon.
You too, guys. Thanks.
Thank you.